Your destination is on the left.
Here's Corin.
Corin, so we're going to try and shoot for just a quick 20-25 minute.
Yeah, buddy.
Short, so it's not super long.
Keep it sweet, dude.
Keep some people interested.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
no, it's been tough because when I've been doing these interviews, it's been tough because you have to let people kind of get to their own way to the end of their story, and it has been hard because they have been a little bit longer than most people expect. But man, great to meet you, brother. I'm Corin.
Yeah. We knew each other, but we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Introduce yourself to the folks out there, if you don't mind.
Hello, internet world. My name is Loren Chef. I'm a bass player, musician from Los Angeles, currently living in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's exactly right.
Love you guys.
Yeah, man.
I love this guy. I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, brother, man. Yeah. And we almost knew each other because one of the guys that I interviewed before in Austin, who came out from L.A., Corey Turbyville, they grew up together out in L.A. together. So we grew up in the same neighborhood, man. Since we want to keep this a little bit tighter, let's change it up a tiny bit from what I normally do, and just kind of talk about your life in music. You know what I mean? I think that'll be a little bit more fundamental.
Sure.
Like when did you first start getting interested in music as an expression for yourself?
It's weird, dude. It's probably from birth because my whole family is in this music industry, so I kind of was just raised around music from childhood. My mom wasn't on the piano playing something, my brothers were playing drums and bass and jamming. They're a few years older than me, so we go back to my grandfather played bass for Bing Crosby and Doris Day.
No way.
Yeah.
Your grandfather played bass for Bing Crosby
back in the 30s,
and Doris Day. That's insane.
Up in L.A., yeah. My dad played bass for Elvis from 69 to 77.
What?
And then my older brother Jason took over the lead singer of Chicago's place in 85 as their bass player and singer, and he's with Chicago, the band, for 31 years. I think his last gig was when they were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
I mean, Chicago's an iconic band.
Yeah, just an American rock band that's been around.
When you were in junior high and high school, were you trying to be in bands? Were you trying to do your thing then, like garage style bands or anything? Or?
Yeah, actually, I was really more focused on the songwriting thing. So I actually got a 4-track unit when I was
remember the 4-track
kid. Yeah. So instead of trying to do the rock and roll thing with the kids and getting the garage band together, I was just kind of an early version of just hibernating in my room and just a little drum machine, and I had my bass and a guitar in my 4-track unit. So I was just sitting there writing tunes, and actually it wasn't until high school I actually moved back to San Diego. It's actually where we're home based from.
Okay.
Because I was such a troubled youth in my junior high days.
And were you at Walter Reed?
I was at Walter Reed for 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
But I think I was a year or two maybe behind you.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
That's probably why we.
I was already at North Hollywood High by the time by that point. Yeah.
But what the first time I realized music was something cooler than what it was I recorded the song when I went to when I was in San Diego Point Loma High for 10th grade. I recorded a surf song called OB Pier, which Ocean Beach is kind of our local beach down there in San Diego. And I just brought it to school one day on a little cassette, tape, Walkman or whatever. And I met some people, and I said, hey, here's a song I wrote about our community. And next thing you know, man, they started taking my Walkman around, and everyone just wanted to listen to this tune I wrote. And all of a sudden, I was the cool new kid because I could record and sing, and I made a song about our town, and all of a sudden, I was in with the crowd. So
that's hilarious, bro.
Music, that's definitely, now I get it.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It connects people in weird ways.
So when did you get, because I remember in North Hollywood at that time, there was a couple, I can't even remember the names of them, but there was a couple of like little punk rock garage bands that would play at some of the house parties and stuff.
Not my scene.
Yeah, I remember one particular house party when they had this mosh pit going, and one of the more drunk punk rockers at the time decided to climb up on the roof of the garage and do a stage dive down onto the crowd, but everybody moved out of the way, and he just like landed, broke his arm right there on the spot, like shattered his kneecap, had to be taken out by an ambulance, bro. It was like,
rock and roll though, dude.
It was rock and roll, man. I wonder what happened to him.
He's probably regretting jumping off that roof. Well, I thought it was a good idea at the time, but
what was it? When did you get into your first actual band? Like, when did you start doing that kind of thing?
So I really started kind of pursuing it. I guess around 18, something like that. I just started working with some people. But it's always funny. The songwriting avenue has always been my angle instead of the band thing. I love bands, and I had a bunch of friends do all that stuff. But I was always in the songwriting and production, so I was in the studio. So it seemed like from age 17, my first gig, I actually produced a song for a charity record, and I was 17 years old behind the console calling the shots.
That's crazy.
It was weird, but I just kind of grew up in that world, man, so that's what I knew. And it wasn't until I was in, I had a couple bands in my early 20s. It wasn't until I was about 23, 24, I finally found a group of guys where we all just were on the same page writing tunes. And it was a band called Belly Puddle, which was just kind of late 90s. I think it was around 97, 98. And that band, I had a little mini Pro Tools rig at home at that point. So I think I had 8 or 16 tracks. I think it was 8 tracks.
That's a lot of tracks.
Yeah. In the digital world, man, I was rocking. And we started cutting a bunch of tunes there. And we got a manager, and he started pushing our stuff out there. And next thing you know, he's taking our demos, and a publisher got a hold of them. And next thing you know, we kind of had like a pseudo pub deal with this music supervisor guy. And he started placing our tunes on all these television shows, man. So we started making money. At 24, we're like getting royalty checks.
That's
we're like
great.
going, fuck, every 3 months we're getting checks like this. This is killer. And
were you guys playing live too? At the same
playing
time?
live, doing the whole just all around. I were playing at Spaceland, which was ended up being Satellite, which is now closed. I found out. To the Sunset Strip, to places in the valley, anywhere we could play, we would just be doing that, trying to build the following. But we were actually doing well with placements of songs, which I always knew, like, that's what I always loved that element. And so we did that, and then we got some buzz, and the next thing you know, man, we got all this tension. The band was at the point of falling apart. It was 99, so we've been together for about 2 years. And
Y2K was about to happen.
Y2K is happening. We're all freaking out. And then finally, it was the height of, we had this great producer, Mark Endert, on board with us, who did the Fiona Apple record at that time, Vertical Horizon. He was working with Maroon 5.
Yeah, it's big time.
A bunch of great big bands. And he was working with us, and we were in a battle between Warner Brothers, Atlantic Records, Arista was flying people out from New York to come see us, the private showcase. And this was all happening at the time when the 4 of us fucking couldn't stand each other. We just hated each other. So we pretty much blew every opportunity we had. Either we turned down Warner Brothers because we didn't want to give up 2% extra of royalties, which you look back and go, give it all away. You'll have all your rights back after 2 or 3 records, and you can go do whatever you want. Take the money, whatever they'll give you.
There you go.
So we kind of screwed all that stuff up. We didn't listen to our manager. And then finally, at that point, I was probably 26, 27. And then I kind of stepped away from music, and I went to the corporate world because I was on the side. I was always doing web development.
Oh, interesting.
Right at the birth of the internet. Mid-90s.
That's smart.
So I was doing that to make money, and then playing music to pursue the dream because I didn't want to work a 9-to-5 gig. And then I ended up working corporate, and I was doing that.
That's a trip. What was that like to go from?
The money was killer. Yeah, all of a sudden you're going from a kid making maybe $12,000, $16,000 a year. All of a sudden I was making a little over 6 figures out of nowhere.
Wow.
And doing something I loved. And it got me traveling. I ended up living in China for a year because we had an office we opened up over there.
In which part of China?
Right next to Hong Kong, right on mainland China.
Okay.
And so I was just over there really developing that office, figuring out the communication. We did so many big, we were working with every Fortune 500 company in every major. We did Spider-Man 2 was all done in Asia as a test. That was our test site, is Spider-Man 2's release of their website and movie at the same time.
That's crazy.
So we're doing that. It was all fun. And by the mid-2000s, I was just like, I've been doing this for 10 years. The music thing didn't work out. I don't want to do this web stuff anymore. It's become MySpace now. I don't know what it is going to be next. So I took a break, and then 10 years later, I ended up meeting a girl who kind of changed my mindset on life. Fell in love, started falling in love with music way more, and I just decided and go, man, I want to do something different with my life. I got to start thinking of my future. I'm 40 now.
I got to start thinking of my future.
And
I'm 40.
I got a chick that's into me, man. So like, what am I going to do? You know, like, how am I going to make this work? How's she going to hang out with me if I'm just like a struggling musician? So we, you know, her and I were just trying to brainstorm a million ideas of what I should do. Should I go back into social media? I'm like, I love music. I'd rather take the pay cut. You know, I'll take the pay cut and be happy than doing corporate where I wasn't happy. And then for some reason, we took a road trip one year. We came out to Nashville to visit my mom and my brother that lived out here. They moved out here like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We cruised around the country a little bit. We were going on the East Coast.
Oh, like we're doing.
Yeah. We were just kind of socially just cruising, just going, well, let's just go take some time off and just see some friends and family. And I fell in love with Nashville in 2017. And I'm a psychopath. And I came back and I told her, I said, well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to move to Nashville. So you're either coming with or not. And she had to go to law school out in San Diego. She had a full scholarship.
Oh, no.
So we had to come to the decision. We're like, well, we might just have to figure out long distance. We might have to break up. But me being the selfish maniac that I am, I'm like, I know I belong in Nashville to play music.
Yeah.
So a month later, I booked a flight, and then a month after that, I moved to Nashville, and we've been doing this long distance thing. She finally moved out here earlier this year. Once COVID hit, I was like, all right, good, great excuse. Let's finally get together and make it happen. But I moved out here to do music. Oops, bam,
bam,
and it's funny, man. Just to start out with knowing 3 guys out here, and those 3 guys kind of introduced me to a million people. Started working with so many different people, and you're starting to hang out with different groups. And I currently work with a guy named Anthony Oreo, who's just kind of he's a touring artist, and we do about I don't know, he does 200 and some odd dates a year. It's not that right now because of
the shutdown.
Whatever. Don't get me started on
that. I know.
Crazy.
Well, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. But he's a great artist to work for. He's fun. We go all over the country. We get this. It's what's really weird, dude.
What's the name of the group?
Anthony Oreo and the Goodfellas.
Okay, cool.
And so growing up in LA, it's funny. I come out here and it's like I grew up such a hippie kind of liberal dude, because Hollywood is everything, man. Like,
of course.
I grew up with diversity, and we've talked about in our classrooms.
Yeah.
Like, we were the minorities.
Absolutely.
In our
schools.
Walter
Reed, North Hollywood High School, for sure.
But
it
I
was
didn't look at it
predominantly Hispanic.
I just looked at it as these are all my Spanish friends. And,
exactly.
And black friends, and all of our Persian friends. And everything was there. We were in the melting pot. And so I never looked at life as going, this is just what life is. And what's been cool about touring with Oreo is I've seen more of the country in the last 3 years than I have my entire life, just because we're touring all the time.
Right.
And it's great to go see different people, because like what you're doing, you're realizing that this little bubble called Los Angeles or New York, those are their own ecosystem.
Exactly.
And they represent the smallest fraction of people. When you go to the rest of the country, man, you realize people are more relaxed and laid back, and
then they're made out to be.
Totally.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Like, it's these major cities that we grew up in that is just causing all this like anxiety for people, where it's like the rest of the world is totally cash and wants to just hang out with you and have a beer.
Exactly, man. That's exactly what Love America Tour is all about. Is finding that medium. Well, to wrap it up, because I know we wanted to make this quick. You reinvented yourself at 40. Yeah. And so you went music, corporate, then back into music. That takes a lot of balls to walk away from something like that. But what, for somebody else who was around that age range, who's an artist or whatever, what kind of recommendation or suggestion you might give to them to help find some balance in their own lives when it comes to their art and their business? 2 factors. Go through 5 years of major depression, then meet a girl, fall massively in love, and your mind starts changing. You start seeing hope. And what it is just getting up. And depression is a whole different thing. That was my thing. But
what it comes down to is this: we live in America, and I try to tell people this. I go, it's hard to see, but you can reinvent yourself at 40 years old. You can reinvent yourself at 50 years old. You can reinvent yourself at 60 years old, and have a career, and your life will change drastically. And I know this sounds super patriotic, but there's no other country in the world where you could really start from nothing and build something if you work your freaking ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, getting into it, it's like, yeah, you can reinvent yourself at any age, but be prepared to work extremely hard and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, or at least go through hurdles and hurdles and hurdles, because it doesn't matter if you're 40 years old and have all this experience. If you reinvent yourself, you've got to work hard to develop that craft. But if you work hard enough, and it's really meant to be, you're going to do something. And if you get to the place you want to be, great. If you get to maybe here, great. But you don't have to be here.
Right.
And that's the beauty of being in this country, is that dude, we could learn how to plumb tomorrow.
Absolutely.
In 10 years, we could be making $200,000 a year and have a 20-man crew and not be doing shit. But we'll work our ass off for 10 fucking years.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about our country, and that's what I've learned from a lot of people too, man. They're like, some people in the music industry didn't get discovered. I think Luke Bryan is like a huge country artist. I'm not a big country guy.
Right.
I grew up on hip hop and rock and rap and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He wasn't discovered as an artist until he was in his mid-30s. So the guy's touring the world. He's like in his mid-40s now or something like that. He's one of the biggest country artists, and it didn't happen to him until he was 35. So
right.
I don't know. That's you learn a lot more as you get older, and I've leaned more into the conservative side, which is weird. And I try to tell people, once you start making some decent bread and paying tax on your salary, you start realizing
you don't want anybody to take it.
You don't want to take it, and then you start seeing the benefits of all this stuff.
Well, it's weird because I'm the same with you when it comes to that, because people will kind of like, even though we're slightly off subject normally,
Sure.
I don't really talk about that part of it, but
Yeah.
I'm not a conservative in terms of what they say that means.
Totally.
I'm fiscally conservative,
Yeah.
and I'm conservative in terms of how I spend and use my money and what I buy and doing all that, and in respect to not wanting Big Brother in my pocket, and in my backyard and in my TV and outside on my porch. I want as little to do with government as humanly possible. Let me be on my own, and that's liberal.
Totally.
That's classic liberalism, is get out of my space.
Yeah.
You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and we'll meet in the middle, on the street socially, and everything will be cool. Yeah. And that to me, so like when people started calling, I was like, wait a minute, I'm a liberal. How am I? Yeah. I mean, I might not want people to take my money, but you shouldn't want them to, so it turned into a whole weird thing now. So I just I'm like, I don't even know what I am anymore. You know what I'm saying?
And you'll notice this too, dude, just cruising around talking to so many people, as I have too. I mean, the internet's helped it, but the internet is the worst way to judge society. You can get a bunch of opinions. It is a shit show. But when you tour around the country and you're driving and you're seeing all these signs on people's front lawns, you realize, and you start talking to these people. One, we all agree on probably about 98% of the same things. There's a few factors that we disagree on that are pretty heavy topics, but they're not enough to divide us.
Exactly.
But the social media and the news doesn't say that for us. But going around and talking to people, I'm friends with guys that are so on the left, so on the right, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm conservative in the point of, I guess, same kind of thing like that. But more people, man, when we're on the road and we're just having a beer together after the show, this fucking politics do not fucking matter at that point. Because it's all about who we are and what we're talking about. Or they just enjoyed watching us play some music. And like I've said this a million times to my friends, the beauty of being an artist and playing music, whether it be an actor or a musician, for me, I can take someone away from reality for a few hours and play music and let them forget about everything, and they just are zoned into that music, and they forgot all about their freaking problems at the moment, and that's all they care about. And it's the same in movies and television.
Absolutely.
Is that we can escape and dive into that, and they can fall in love with that character and just forget about the BS of the world. And that's what I love about playing music. That's probably what drives me to play music more and more live, is that how we affect people's lives, just letting them escape BS for a couple hours.
Exactly. And that is a perfect place to end this off. You know, let's all escape the BS for a few hours in whatever way, shape, or form we can, and not be afraid to come together and have a great conversation and get to know one another. You know what I mean? That's what's important. Let's get to know each other as human beings first, and save the politics for the voting booth.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
Boom.
Brother. Thank you, man.
Love America tour.
Love America, brother.